Most people believe their biggest problems come from the mistakes they make, but in many cases, the real damage comes from the things they never face, conversations they avoid, decisions they postpone, problems they quietly walk around instead of confronting. Because avoidance feels safe in the moment, it removes tension, it removes conflict, it removes discomfort. But every problem that is avoided does not disappear. It grows. Avoidance rarely feels like a decision. Most of the time it feels like patience, like waiting for the right moment, waiting for things to calm down, waiting for a better opportunity, waiting until you feel more confident. But the brain is doing something very specific in those moments. It is protecting you from discomfort. Every difficult conversation, every risky decision, every uncomfortable truth creates stress. And the brain naturally tries to reduce that stress as quickly as possible. So instead of solving the problem, it looks for a way to escape the feeling. You postpone the conversation. You delay the decision. You distract yourself with something easier. And the moment you avoid the problem, the stress disappears. That relief feels good. Your brain registers it as a reward, which means something dangerous starts happening. Avoidance becomes a habit, not because you are lazy, because your brain learned that avoiding discomfort creates immediate relief. But here is the hidden cost. Every problem that is avoided does not stop growing. It continues developing in the background. The uncomfortable conversation becomes a broken relationship. The financial problem becomes serious debt. The health issue becomes something much harder to fix. And many people realize this pattern only years later, when the problems they avoided have quietly become the biggest obstacles in their lives. Let me ask you something. Do you remember a moment when you knew you should say something important but decided to stay silent instead? Or a decision you knew you should make but kept postponing because it felt uncomfortable? In that moment, avoidance probably felt harmless. But that is exactly how it always begins. Consider a simple situation that many people experience. Someone notices a small problem with their finances, a credit card balance that starts growing, a few purchases they should probably stop making. Nothing dramatic yet, just numbers slowly moving in the wrong direction. They tell themselves they will deal with it soon. Next month, they will review their spending. Next month, they will create a budget. Next month, they will finally look at the statements carefully. But every time the notification appears, they feel a small wave of discomfort. So instead of opening the banking app, they close it. Instead of checking the numbers, they distract themselves with something else. Weeks pass, then months. The balance grows quietly in the background. Interest begins accumulating. Now the numbers look worse than before, which makes the problem even more uncomfortable to face. So the person avoids it again. Another few months pass. One day a letter arrives, a warning about missed payments. Now the problem is no longer a small financial mistake. It has become serious debt. Collections begin calling. The person's credit score collapses. Loans become impossible. Opportunities disappear. And all of it started with something small. Not with a reckless decision, but with a simple act of avoidance. A moment when someone decided not to look at the problem. Avoidance often appears in relationships as well. Imagine a couple that has been together for several years. At the beginning, things work well, but slowly small problems begin appearing. Nothing explosive, just small moments. One person feels ignored, the other feels unappreciated. A few comments sound disrespectful. A few arguments end without being resolved. Both people notice the tension. Both feel something is wrong. But neither of them wants the uncomfortable conversation. So instead of addressing the problem directly, they avoid it. When something hurts, they stay silent. When something feels unfair, they let it go. When a disagreement appears, they change the subject. At first, this seems peaceful. There are no fights, no dramatic arguments. But the problem does not disappear. It accumulates. Months pass, then years. Resentment quietly grows in the background, until one day the relationship suddenly collapses. One person says they feel disconnected. The other says they feel unheard. Both are shocked, because from the outside, nothing dramatic ever seemed to happen. But the relationship was not destroyed by one moment. It was slowly weakened by years of avoided conversations. The truth is that many relationships do not fail because people fought too much. They fail because the important conversations never happened at all. Avoidance is one of the quietest ways a life can begin to fall apart. Because nothing seems wrong in the moment. You avoid one conversation. You delay one decision. You ignore one problem. And the day continues as if nothing happened. But avoidance has a strange effect on time. The moment you avoid something, the problem stops shrinking and begins growing. A conversation that could have taken 10 minutes turns into months of distance. A small financial mistake turns into years of debt. A health concern that could have been solved early turns into something much harder to fix. Not because the problem was impossible, because it was never faced when it was still small. Avoidance protects you from discomfort today, but it quietly hands a much bigger problem to your future self. And that is why the habit is so dangerous. It convinces people that doing nothing is the safest option, when in reality, doing nothing is often the decision that allows the most damage to happen. So the real question is not whether problems will appear in life. They always will. The real question is much simpler. When something uncomfortable appears, will you face it or walk around it again?